Welcome to another edition of the KTTH Roundtable, where Brian Suits and I talk about topics we didn't really prepare for around a literal roundtable. What do you got?
What do you think Taylor Swift is going to do as an encore on Saturday when you and I are in the KTTH suite?
Yeah, people don't realize that we're Swifties and we're all in. Am I the only one who's embarrassed that the city, the county, and the media are spending all this time about how we're preparing for the Swifties when we've got people who... An addict just died as I was talking.
I am going to be curious on Monday to see whether or not there was a noticeable decrease in crime where there's a lot of police. Because earlier this week, the Washington State sheriffs and police chiefs came out with their annual report. 53 years they've been doing it. And oddly enough, at a time when we have fewer cops per 100,000 than any other place in the country, our homicide rate is at a record pace.
16%
Imagine
higher,
that.
16.6% higher than it was. And technically that was 2022, but we know 2023 is not off to a great start.
No.
In Seattle, for example, we are almost certainly going to exceed last year's homicide numbers. So we'll see where that goes. The problem is when you put a whole bunch of cops into the downtown area, because this is at the state at Lumen Field, you're just pulling them from other neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So you're making other neighborhoods way more vulnerable to crime.
So there's going to be no one to kick Droplet out of the endangered cedar tree.
Or Droplet number 2.
His girlfriend, yeah.
So I want to talk about Oppenheimer, which you're very excited to see. It comes out today. Well, technically it came out last night, I guess. But I saw it on Tuesday. It is outstanding. Every single actor in this film is going to get nominated. You're
Who's Truman?
I'm not going to tell you who Truman is.
I looked on Wikipedia.
It's so exciting to learn who Truman is because it's a cameo appearance from an actor that everyone loves. But here's the deal. So I saw today there was a story, I think it was at King 5, basically saying that there are only about 60 theaters in the country that can handle the IMAX type of film that Christopher Nolan shot this in. And so in Seattle, you're not going to be able to see it that way. So 2 things. Number 1, you don't need to see it in IMAX. Let's be clear. This is a movie that's an actor's movie. The special effects are not quite what this is not Interstellar. This is not Dunkirk. This is not a movie that you have to see in IMAX. Number 2, hey, Christopher Nolan, dummy, you understand that there's only a few theaters that can actually handle this film. So why then would you shoot it for that purpose? And then tell us, by the way, this is meant to be enjoyed in a theater you don't have access to.
So
what's
screw
the
you,
point
Seattle.
of that? But what's the point of that? It's not even screw you, Seattle. It's screw you 99% of the country.
But, you know, I bet you most people don't care, and they'll go to a standard.
But that's my point. But this sort of Christopher Nolan thing of, oh, it's really meant to be seen this way. Well, then no one will see your movie. If that's the way that it's meant to be seen, why would you spend all that time on a technology that no one has access to? What is the purpose of that?
He's a connoisseur. He's a filmmaker's filmmaker.
Well, then keep it to yourself, dude. And by the way, am I the only one who thinks that Oppenheimer it's not necessarily going to bomb, but it feels like there's only a certain kind of people who are seriously curious about this movie? Christopher Nolan is brilliant, but I don't know how many people want to sit through 3 hours. And by the way, best picture of the year so far, by far.
And that's why so few A-bomb movies have been made. It's the one thing that makes us uncomfortable about World War II, unless you had a dad that was fighting in the Pacific at the end of the war. And then you'd be having a roundtable with an empty couch.
Yeah, and the movie explores all of those concerns and the moral dilemma. What's his name? Robert Downey Jr. is brilliant in this movie.
Louis Strauss,
yeah, he's so good. Go see that. Skip Taylor Swift, because who cares? I mean, for the love of God. And we'll see you next week.